Hi, friends. Welcome to another episode of That Sounds Fun. I'm your host, Annie F. Downs. I'm so happy to be here with you today. Listen, we are continuing our EnneaSummer 2024 series with our second triad of friends today. Man, we are having a ball with this series. This month, we're talking about the Enneagram Triads and relationships. So last week, Ashton Whitmore-Ober, better known as Enneagram Ashton, helped us kick things off and walk us through what the triads are. And then we got to hear from our friends in the gut triad, our 8s, 9s, and 1s, with the help of our Enneagram expert, Dio. We have loved reading your comments, hearing what you think, and seeing what you put on your billboard. Listen, if you haven't heard about that yet, stick around until the end. Also, we keep seeing y'all share these episodes with your friends and family, and that is such a good idea. They're great conversation starters, especially with people up close to you. So whether you want to send this to people who understand the Enneagram or share it with your people who can learn more about the Enneagram, maybe you just want people to understand you better. I hear you, 4s. I hear you. These are great episodes to talk about with your people. We also have a free download for you that gives you a chance to process through some of the questions we're asking our experts and guests in this series. You can find that as well as a list of other Enneagram resources from our experts at anniefdowns.com/EnneaSummer. So today on the show, we get to talk about the Heart Triad, the 2s, 3s, and 4s with my friends Heather and Laura. Heather is the 2, Laura is the 4, and our Enneagram expert, Tyler Zock, who is a 3. You may know his work online as the Gospel for Enneagram. He has a ton of helpful resources and links to his books there. The Heart Triad is made up of the Enneagram 2s, 3s, and 4s, so our guests each represent one of those numbers, and we're here to talk about their learnings and experiences when it comes to understanding the way those in the Heart Triad relate to themselves and others. Our Enneagram expert today, Tyler, identifies as an Enneagram 3 and really helps us to better understand the core feelings of this triad and how we can love our people and best understand our people who fall into this triad. And if it is you, you are about to feel understood. So whether you're a 2, 3, or 4, or there's someone in your life in the Heart Triad, you are going to love learning more about our friends. Tyler is an expert and teaches us a lot about all the numbers today. So here is my EnneaSummer 2024 Heart Triad conversation with my friends Tyler, Heather, and Laura.
That sounds fun.
All right, friends, welcome to EnneaSummer 2024. Are you nervous?
A little bit.
You have to talk. You can't just nod.
Yes.
I love it. Okay, so we'll go around. We are with our Heart Triad today. So we're talking about 2s, 3s, and 4s. Tyler, we'll start with you. You are our expert. Will you introduce yourself? Tell us what number you identify most with and how you're here.
Yeah, Tyler Zock, and I'm a type 3 with the heavy 4 wing. I'm just excited to be here. From Nebraska, the first time in Nashville here, and this is fun.
Yeah.
This is really, really fun.
Welcome.
So,
This is my first time realizing your name is Zock.
Yes.
Not Zach.
Like
I'm
Bach,
so sorry.
the musician.
Yeah. Okay, great. And you have on our list of resources for the EnneaSummer, I mean, you have a book for every type. You have Enneagram Summit. Can people still watch the Enneagram Summit? Can they still buy it and watch it?
Yes, they can. But I'm doing another one coming up on Enneagram and mental health in August.
Great.
So that's coming up. But yeah, the Type 5 book is in editing stages right now.
Yeah.
And that'll be the last book. I've written a book for every type of 40-day devotional.
Yeah.
It's been a 5-year project, and so I'm finally finishing up.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And when it comes to origins of the Enneagram, which a lot of people have questions about, you have a lot of resources around that. You have Instagram stuff, you have YouTube stuff. We can go to you and find out more about origin.
Yes. So there's a free article on my website, Should Christians Use the Enneagram? It's kind of a small primer. But then I wanted to do a deep dive as a pastor to figure out, as Paul said, to test everything.
Yeah.
And so I went on a deep dive, created a whole course out of it. Should Christians use the Enneagram? Looking at the ancient origins all the way up until now.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's a modern tool. It's not an ancient tool, but I still go through all of the diagrams and all the history to help people understand, to get clarity on the origins and to be able to have confidence to use it.
Yeah.
So, and I'll actually give a discount if you use a coupon. That sounds fun.
Hey,
you get 50% off the course.
Okay,
if you want to take the origins
great.
course.
We will put that in the show notes. Hey, that sounds fun. 50% off the course. Okay. All right, Laura.
Hi.
Tell us who you are.
My name is Laura Morris, and I am a 4 with a strong 3 wing.
Okay. And what do you do currently?
Currently, I work for an organization called Nurture the Next, and it
Yes.
kind of invests in mothers in their parenting, doing parenting classes and kind of walking alongside them
Yeah.
as they are maybe under-resourced in some areas and kind of just walking alongside them.
So an observation, Tyler, about Laura, I'll do publicly. Laura loves to serve people. Is that a 4 thing?
Yeah, fours have a huge capacity for compassion and for the underdogs. To fight for the underdogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the 15 years I've known her, she is forever in roles where she serves other people, and I am forever not. And so I'm just like, it's been amazing. So that's kind of a 4. Is that a Heart Triad thing?
Yeah, I mean, it can be. I mean, there's lots of, 6s are fighting for the underdog, 8s. So that's not unique to 4s, but 4s have a huge heart of compassion for those who are, especially for those who are suffering.
Yeah.
Really comes out with people who are suffering.
Yeah. Interesting.
True.
Okay. Ma'am, introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Heather. I am a 2.
What's your professional passion? What do you do outside of your home?
Historically, I am a counselor.
Yes.
Yes.
Which makes so much sense.
Yes.
All 3 of you married, correct?
Yep.
And all 3 of you parents.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think that's a really interesting part of this particular episode too, is all my friends in the Heart Triad are also raising people. And so I think that is a really interesting part of this. Okay, let's talk about leading with your heart. I will start with you, Tyler. Talk a little bit about all 3 of your numbers are very different. So what does it mean that they're in the Heart Triad?
Yeah, so we're in the heart center of intelligence. So we have EQ, or emotional intelligence. That's one of our, I'd say, divine gifts from God. We just have a bigger capacity for holding people's emotions. And that's truly a great gift. And so we take in everything through our heart first.
Okay.
So something might hit your head first,
Yeah.
being in the head triads. For the gut triad, it's hitting their body, it's hitting their sensations first. But for us, it's going to hit our heart. And so there's certain assets and liabilities that come with being a heart type.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're empathetic, we're compassionate, we're charming, we're ingratiating, we're good at reading the room, good at reading people. Wherever we go, the workplace, our families, we're creating good interpersonal dynamics.
Yeah.
Wherever we go. And
But doing it for 3 different reasons.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would say another gift is just being able to include people in our decision making. So I'm a 3 and I'm assertive type and I was working with a 7 and an 8 pastor.
I bet y'all were running fast.
And a lot of times it's like, we're going to do this. I'm like, this is going to make this whole group of people in our church upset or feel isolated or unheard. So I was the one that was constantly like checking because we include how people are going to be impacted.
Yeah.
So it's another one of the gifts. But I remember you asked before about whether or not there's a counter type within each triad. That's a really good question. No one's ever asked that.
Oh, thanks.
But I'm sort of the counter type. 3s, 6s, and 9s are all the counter type within the triads.
Oh, interesting.
So we're in the heart center, but 3s are in the center between 2s and 4s, and we repress our feelings, even though we're good with our feelings. Which means I read the room and as a pastor, I could read the room and sense what people are feeling.
Yeah.
And then I respond with doing. I don't respond with my heart.
Whereas the 2 of them would respond with their heart.
Yeah. And so I shut my feelings down because feelings aren't aerodynamic. Feelings aren't, they don't make me go faster. They make me go slower.
Yeah.
So I shut down my feelings. And I think it just, for 3s, they want to impress people. And being overly dramatic or feely isn't that impressive. It's being slick, being cool, getting stuff done. And that our culture reinforces that. But they're much more in tune with their heart than 3s. And then you can go around with 6s are in the middle of the head triad, and they don't have productive thinking, even though they're in the head triad.
Yeah.
Or 9s are in the middle of the gut triad, but they're not. They're suppressing their doing. They're suppressing their action because it gets in the way of harmony.
That's really
That's to answer your question. So I'm sort of a counter type, and so some of the questions you are asking about how do you lead with your heart, I have to think about it for a while because I'm like, how do I? Do I? Because I think of myself as a doer. not a feeler.
Yeah. What type are you married to? What does your wife identify?
6.
Okay. So a 3 and a 6. Laura, what does your husband identify as?
He's a 9.
He is a 9. I know. And what's your husband identify
Yeah,
as?
we're working on it. He thinks he's said he was a 9 for a decade, and all of a sudden we're like, "Are you a 7?"
Oh, okay. Yeah. How did you, Heather? Start with this. How did you determine you were a 2, or identified most closely as a 2?
Yes, you were around for this. It was maybe 14 years ago, and we were at my house on 9th Avenue.
Yeah.
Matt Wirtz was there. Everybody was just talking about it, so I got the wisdom of the Enneagram.
Yeah.
And I remember reading it and I threw it against the wall, which is a very dramatic. I've never thrown a book in my life, but it felt very exposing. I was like, oh no, that's me, and it was also comforting and I felt very seen, but it was, I was like, ah!
It was at that same house where I learned I was a 7.
Yeah.
Because Heather also had, at the time I lived with her and her husband. So there was a book, you had a kid's version.
Yes, I love that book.
And it said 7s can always think of other jobs they want. And I started crying because I had this narrative in my head that I was never content. And that's why I wasn't married. Is that the church had taught me, or I had caught, I don't know if it was taught or caught, that once you're content, then God will give you what you want. But I could always think of another job I could do. So I thought, I'm just never content. And all of a sudden, this tool was saying to me, hey, this thing about you is actually just a good thing about you instead of keeping you from what you want. It was wild. So yay for that house on 9th Avenue.
I know, I loved it.
Laura, how did you determine you relate most closely to being a 4?
Well, I wish it was because I had this amazing talent or I was this artist, but somehow I'm a 4 without one of those great talents. But sadly, I realized I was a 4 reading like the negative parts of a 4. So I realized I was a 4 when I read, you always feel like something is missing. And that is so true. Like, I always feel like something is missing in my relationships and just life in general. But where it really got me is reading that the sin of a 4 is envy, but it's not envy of status or position or stage or money or, anything like that. It's envious of making a difference in this life, like envious of kind of leaving a mark or helping the suffering, like you said, like really in tune with the suffering. And that's how I knew, okay, I feel that deeply. And it's not great necessarily, but I knew I was a 4 then.
Tyler, how did you know you were a 3?
I took the Ready test, the Reason Hudson test, and I tied for a 3 and a 5.
Oh, interesting.
And I always thought of myself as a 5.
Oh, wow.
I always thought of myself as an intellectual, and I was, because I think I repressed my emotions, so I never thought of myself as emotional. And so that was a huge revelation for me, because then as I started to look at the 3, the differences between the 3 and the 5, one of the common denominators among all of us, the heart types, is external validation.
Yes.
We feel like, we suffer from low self-esteem. We feel like we don't have value. And so we're looking to other people. We're looking to Annie to tell us if we're a somebody. So we feel like nobodies, and we're hoping that the world will tell us that we're a somebody.
Wow.
So 2s will go out and help people or befriend people to get that external validation. 3s will go out and achieve and try to impress in order to get that validation. And 4s will try to be special, one of a kind.
Yeah.
Like how Jesse Eubanks says, they want to be unreplicable.
Yeah.
No one like them. And I love what Richard Moore says. He says that the peacock is kind of like our mascot, the heart types mascot.
Yeah, interesting.
And we put up our beautiful feathers and say, look at me.
Yeah.
Because we're seeking attention to get that validation, therefore the worth. And Richard Moore says, heart types need to put down their feathers and realize that they're just ugly chickens like the rest of us.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And so that's part of the work, is to take off our feathers. It's for 4s, it's becoming ordinary like everyone else.
But how does it play in? Because I feel like 4s, or at least I do, feel like we're flawed in a way that other people aren't flawed, or have like this connection to our darker side, which in my opinion has made me, I think, less judgmental of people, because I can see myself in their shoes. If I had grown up in that circumstance, I might be homeless or struggle with addiction or things like that. How does that play in?
Yeah, 4s feel like they're on the island of misfits.
Yeah.
Like in the Rudolph movie. They feel like they were born into the world with manufactured defects. And so, but 3s and 2s, we both feel like we don't feel to that extent, but I do feel like a failure a lot. And I feel like I'm only as good as my last success. And so, but Donna actually said that. She said, as soon as I come out with an album and it's chart topping, the next morning I feel like a nobody again. So I have to go out and make another album to prove to everybody that I'm a somebody. So all of us, it's like a balloon. And when people fill us up with praise and affirmation and validation, we feel on top of the world. And then when it's not coming, we feel like empty, like an empty balloon.
Wow.
Well, that is when we're living apart from the gospel.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, y'all talk about before you knew the Enneagram and you walked into a room and you knew your heart connected first. Or I guess the question is, did you know your heart connected first? I can think back to being like, I can honestly think back through my life and always thinking we should be able to think our way through this. Like being in the head triad has always been true about me. Laura, you're nodding. Yeah. Have you always known it was your heart that went
Always.
first? Okay.
Always.
Do you remember a time that comes to, or talk about when you walk in a room? What does it feel like that I don't understand?
I just pick up on other people's feelings. I don't know how to explain it. I can walk with people who are drastically different with me and I can sit with them. And I think that's the empathy piece that can really be a superpower when you're in a healthy spot because you can sit with them. I'm very comfortable sitting with them and their feelings. I don't have to say a word. And I think that can be a real support to them because they feel understood.
Yeah.
And that can happen with people that, you work with or your family or friends. I think it's that authentic piece too that you bring because it's like I know I'm not any better than you and I know I'm deeply flawed in a lot of ways and I can sit with you in this like I can sit and I can maybe carry some of that with you too. But when I walk in a room I can pick up on everybody's energy almost.
Yes. I mean, Heather, you're the exact same way. Right.
Yes.
So when you walk in a room, you walk into church on Sunday morning. Is it distracting? Like, is it almost like radiating onto you? Or do you,
Yes.
It is.
Yes, it is. I have to make a conscious effort to block out how people are doing that I can't do anything about. Yes.
And so how do you do that? You just go, I can't care, I can't care, I can't care. I have to keep walking.
Yes, there are all these mantras that people have taught me all along the way. I mean, the obvious ones of like, not my circus. Like I cannot, help. And asking God all the time, what is mine to do? Is there anything that you want me to do with this information or not? Just keep going. But it
How
helps.
do y'all walk down the street? I don't understand.
I feel like it's a constant wrestling match in my brain. I don't know if y'all feel that way, but it's just this constant wrestling. Do I do something here? Do I go sit with this person? Do I ask how they're doing? Do I go get them food? It's just a constant in my head. Or like I will literally lay down at night and it will take me hours to fall asleep because I'm thinking about how many people don't have clean water in the world. Like how many mothers will wake up and look at their kids and say, I don't have food for you today. I mean, it keeps me up at night. And so it's like this constant wrestling in my head.
That sounds hard. That's not mine.
Yeah.
Mine is more my relationships, just the however many people that I feel like I'm in a relationship with and care about. That is how I orient my day. That's what I think about. That is most of my energy is just my people.
What does this look like for a 3, Tyler? How's a 3 walk down the street?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because one of the liabilities of being a heart type is that we can get confused. We can let our feelings sort of give us a false version of reality. And so there's relational anxiety when we don't know the truth. So for example, we could all go home tonight and Heather was like, you maybe had some allergies and you're itching your nose. And she's like, was Annie looking at me funny? Like, is Annie mad at me?
Oh gosh.
And then you might say something about 4s, like, oh yeah, 4s can be over dramatic. And then Laura goes home tonight and she's like, she thinks I'm over dramatic. Like I am over dramatic, and then just interject,
which goes to shame, which is where we go
hang
to.
out.
Yeah, which is where we hang out.
For me, it's more like walking away thinking, oh man, I didn't meet Annie's expectations. I didn't answer the questions right. I failed her. I failed this episode.
Wow.
So it's different, but it's thinking about you. Like, did we meet your expectations? Are we good? And so that's where we burn a lot of calories.
4s are thinking about the world. 2s are thinking about their relationships. 3s are thinking about whoever hired them, per se. Quote, quote, whoever they're working for or working with.
Well, you're talking a lot about compassion and feeling for those who are suffering, but 4s often withdraw to introspect. And so, like, you'll go deep and think about your inner world. And then that's why 4s oftentimes come out with memoirs. It's like, I feel, I see the beauty and the meaning and the suffering and the light and the darkness in the world. I need to tell it. I need to express it so people can see it. Whereas 2s, they don't take the time to introspect like that because they're so focused on other people.
Yeah.
And so they're like a sponge that's just constantly absorbing other people's feelings. So 4s can wring out their sponge and like tell you they're like the deep sea divers of the human psyche. They go down deep and they come up and show you all the treasures they found. But 2s, they don't know what they're feeling because they're constantly just absorbing people's energy. And it's beautiful because like a lady came over to our house in our small group, and I have 2 adopted sons. One's on the spectrum, and he got into a fight with another kid who was on the spectrum. And there was a lot of anger, a lot of fighting. And I could just see her face. Like she just was absorbing all of that.
Yeah.
And that's hard. But it's also a gift because then you can turn around and bake a casserole or befriend or offer support. And so that's one of the beautiful things about 2s. But I don't envy the 2s constantly absorbing other people's stuff.
Yeah, that feels exhausting. You've never lived in any other body. Does it feel exhausting?
I have no idea. When I hear other people think, I'm like, really? You don't do this?
Listen, that is every year with EnneaSummer. I'm like, what? That happens inside of you to every number. It is unbelievable to me how different everyone is.
But Annie, we don't envy the mental battle that you have.
Sure.
You know, the head types.
Yes.
For all, we even talked about shame, which is our underlying emotion, which we should talk about. But to the same extent that we're wrestling with shame, you're wrestling with anxiety and the mental battles that go on in your head. So it's all different. We're suffering from different things.
My COO is a 2, and we've been having a conversation about my stress currently at work. And she was like, "I'm just sad to hear you talk about your 5 to 9 after your 9 to 5." And I was like, I thought my brain never stopped. Like, I haven't had a break. I've had days off. I haven't had a break in forever because the problem is in my brain and I can't fix my brain. So it's just all I say is I live with it. But as I'm hearing more about 2s, I'm like, oh, she is feeling that in me and wanting to relieve it to help me.
Yes.
And there is no relieving a person in their mind. There's sleep, thanks to Beam. I wonder if they're sponsoring this episode. I do sleep very well every night because I'm taking something. I'm drinking my Beam. Hey, friends, just interrupting this conversation to tell you about one of our incredible partners, Cozy Earth. I know it just keeps getting hotter outside. We can handle it, but let's keep everything inside your house cool and cozy, shall we? Our friends at Cozy Earth have the bath products and bedding you need to make this happen. And as always, we have a discount code for my friends. Cozy Earth's bath sheets and towels are crafted with advanced technology, so they give you that traditional design of towels with an elevated look that has great absorbency, durability, and comfort. And when the day rolls around where you can sleep in just a little bit longer, like on your Sabbath practice each week, Cozy Earth sheets are the best to help you feel more relaxed and rejuvenated. They're super soft, breathable, and made with temperature-regulating fabrics. On top of that, all of their bedding and bath products come with a 100-night sleep trial and 10-year warranty. This summer, transform your home into a sanctuary with Cozy Earth. Get 30% off at CozyEarth.com using the code TSF. Like, that sounds fun. Tell them I sent you in the post-purchase survey and get a set of free plush lounge socks. Y'all know I love to sleep in socks. What a dream. That's CozyEarth.com and use the code TSF. And another incredible partner, I love telling you about Liquid IV. The Olympics are starting soon. I cannot wait. I just love when we're all collectively watching the same thing, whether it's Olympics or Tiger King, and we're highly invested, cheering for our people. It's just the best. In fact, one of our That Sounds Fun guests Walker Zimmerman will be playing for the U.S. men's national soccer team in the Olympics. It's going to be so fun to watch. And he's got to stay hydrated. They have got to, but so do we as fans. That's where Liquid IV comes in. One stick of Liquid IV delivers superior hydration to water alone with 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink, plus 8 vitamins and nutrients. You just tear open the pack, pour it into your water bottle, and add the water, of course, and you are good to go. We just got a new flavor at the office. Now listen, prepare yourselves. Cotton candy. We also got sugar-free rainbow sherbet. Okay, the cotton candy is actually really good. It tastes like a summery treat. And y'all know we also love the sugar-free flavors around here, the lemon lime, the white peach, the green grape, and the raspberry melon. So good. So turn your ordinary water into extraordinary hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com. Use the code ThatSoundsFun at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration using the promo code ThatSoundsFun at liquidiv.com. Okay, now back to our conversation with Tyler, Heather, and Laura.
That sounds fun.
Okay, let's talk about shame for a minute, because I didn't tell y'all this when we started, but during the year, we surveyed the audience a couple times and said, what do you want this summer? Do you want EnneaSummer or do you want Summer Lovin'? Because last year we did a whole series on dating. And they said, and my option was just EnneaSummer, just Summer Lovin', we want them together. Overwhelmingly, they wanted to hear about being in relationship and your Enneagram type. And so that's one of the reasons we went with Triads, is we thought this is really interesting to talk about relationships. So as we're talking about shame, will you tell me a little bit about how you experience shame, particularly in your up-close relationships? For those of us that are in intimate relationships with 2s, 3s, and 4s, whether it's our parents or our partner or our friends or our COO, like, what does shame look like for you in your intimate relationships?
I mean, part of it is, always kind of feeling flawed. But luckily, I think 4s and 9s probably do make a good couple, because 9s are just incredibly loyal and stable. And so when I'm not leading an authentic life, when I've gone through seasons making bad decisions and I know that I'm not being authentic, I go to shame and I live in this shame cycle. Until I, change what I'm doing that is, conflicting my authenticity. And he is just really able to walk with me through that and able to kind of carry me through that and appreciate that in me.
Yeah.
So I think, and with him, I mean, I don't know a ton about 9s, but they are also compassionate. And I think, that's why I think we started fostering. That's why we have two adopted sons as well. But that's been really good, because he can walk me through my shame and kind of lift me up and be like, no, you're good. You're not more flawed than anybody else. You're not more flawed than I am. And we both, see the world with compassion and kind of try to make a difference where we can.
Is it true every number can marry every number? There is no bad combo, but is it true that 4s and 9s understand each other well?
I did premarital counseling with a 4 and 9. I don't hear about that a lot, but there's so many different combinations.
Right, sure.
But I can see that's interesting, because the 4 and 9 are both in the withdrawn stance. So there's some interesting dynamics there. But yeah, I mean, I think they're very complementary. One being very chill and can absorb some of your emotions that you want to express and can be a good listener. That's a great, it's a great
Except for both being very stubborn. Is that true? I know
You're
I'm stubborn.
It's true, but is that because
and
of
he
our
is
numbers?
as well.
Yeah, you both can get stuck.
Yeah.
Can get stuck. Whereas you don't have an assertive type to pull you out and move and drive you forward. You can both kind of get just stuck.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
That's been true when I've been in romantic relationships with 4s and 9s. It's a hard thing, because you're dealing with the male-female dynamic, and I'm the female that's in the aggressive stance, but also both those numbers are withdrawn, and so it is me pulling, but then I'm also balancing all the rest of it being female and male.
Everybody's different, but 7s and 4s, that would be an interesting.
Really? Listen, you're right. You are right.
I've counseled a 7 friend who's a pastor has a teenage daughter who's a 4, and it can't be different.
Yeah.
The 4 wants to be heard, wants to be she feels misunderstood, and he's just like, it's okay, everything's good. Like, it's like, no, you gotta,
But we both have a lot of feelings.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right.
I'm interested, Heather, how do you experience shame? Because a lot of twos don't say they don't resonate with shame very much. And my personal theory is that they're running from shame, whereas every type or every triad has somebody who's running from their underlying emotions. So for you as a 7, if it's like, what do you fear, Annie?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't fear much.
Right.
Everything's good.
The rest of this conversation.
And because 7s are constantly outrunning their fears because they don't ever slow down to turn around to face it.
Yeah.
If they're unhealthy. 2s, I think, are so busy chasing other people to try to not feel shame.
Wow.
And so they experience it more as sadness. And they experience, like, I feel sad and I feel rejection. And so that's kind of how.
But it takes some work to call it shame.
Yeah, I think so.
Does that feel true, Heather?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
I have done several decades of my own counseling, so I do feel like I know that I experience shame, but I also don't, when we're talking about it, I think, oh, you might access it easier. I identify with the being busy and trying to help other people so that I don't experience it.
Is there a process? Like, I'm picturing you in your kitchen and you're making dinner for the girls and for Luke, and you go, I feel so sad. Oh, do I actually feel shame? Like, do you do that? Again, here's my brain thinking it through. You probably don't think it through. You probably just feel it, but.
I do. I feel it, and then I don't want to talk about it. And then it looks like really softly and quietly saying, I need to talk about something, and then my kids and I talk about shame, like holding hands with somebody and taking a flashlight into our hearts and brains and in these dark. And it's not as, once you talk about it and bring light to it, then it's not as scary. And so I like being married to a 9. He's very gentle when I do that, when I say, like, I need to tell you a story about a mistake I made or something I got stuck in. So if I get stuck in looping thoughts, sometimes that will show me that I feel shame, or I'll just be sad or lonely. Sometimes I'll put myself out there in a relational way and it won't get reciprocated, and that will get internalized as shame to me. Wow. You might not know.
No. I don't know, but I believe you.
Thanks.
The underlying emotion is so, so important when it comes to triads, because it's like the software that's running in the background that we don't know is running.
Oh, wow.
And
for y'all, it's shame.
And causes a lot of reactions and conflict. For 3s, it comes out a lot through work. Work and our projects are like an extra limb of your body. And so if you're like poking, like, Tyler, your website or this book, and I don't agree with this, then it feels like you're actually squeezing one of my limbs.
Wow. Which is so interesting, because you do get pushback because it's Enneagram. I mean, there was a very loud season where some people were very loud about anti-Enneagram, and you stepped in I mean this positively, you stepped in very aggressively.
Yeah.
And so did it hurt? And
yes, part of that activates competition in the 3. I don't see myself as very competitive, like in sports.
Yeah.
I didn't want the other team to lose because I didn't want them to feel shame.
Oh, yeah, you're heavy boring over there. That's very sweet.
Or I have a 7 friend who's like, I'm going to dominate my kids in sports. It's like, you have a little girl, you have to be gentle.
Be gentle, let her
He's
win.
like, no, I gotta toughen her up.
That's right.
I'm like, what? That doesn't compute. So 3s can get hypersensitive about their criticism, because it feels like you're squeezing them, So I have to be aware when people are giving me feedback to separate me from my work, that my identity is not in my work, because it feels like they're one and the same. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And shame gets triggered in my marriage when I come up with a great plan as a 3. I'm like, oh, this is really exciting. And you might resonate, because as a 7, you have lots of ideas all the time.
Absolutely.
And people look at you like this. You're like, get excited. Come on, share some
We
enthusiasm.
have a rule that, like, in a first meeting, you can't say no to me. It ruins everything. So I'm like, don't tell me no.
Yes.
We haven't even tried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to create space for the 7s to ideate.
Yes.
Create space for the 6s to share their concerns. Create space for 3s to talk about their dreams and everything they're hoping in. All that. But for my wife, if she quickly pokes holes in my plans or pokes holes in my dreams, I get super sensitive and start feeling ashamed. Like, oh, she thinks I'm a failure. Kind of like fours interject. Like, she doesn't believe in me. Like, you start hearing these lies in your head.
Yeah.
And I'll be in meetings now, and knowing the Enneagram a little more now, I'll be in meetings where I can catch myself quicker. Of like, oh, the reason why I'm feeling so strongly about this right now and want to react is it feels like she's doubting me. It feels like she's taking away my worth right now. This just happened in a governance team meeting, and I have to stop myself. Like, no, this is normal. Pushing back. This is normal. This is not saying anything about my identity, but it's like it's constantly running in the background for us.
Yeah.
If we can name it and be like, oh, and one of the things that 2, 3s, and 4s should do consistently is test our assumptions. So if like you go home tonight and think that Annie's mad at you because she looked at you funny, like texting her and be like, were you mad at me?
We have breakfast tomorrow, so she can just tell me tomorrow. Yeah.
And then you can say, no.
Absolutely not.
That's ridiculous.
Yes.
And so if we can have the courage to test our assumptions and say, hey, what did you mean by this? Because we felt shame by it, but the other types aren't. They're usually not trying to shame us.
So if a 3 is an aggressive stance and a 4 is a withdrawn stance, what is a 2?
Dependent.
Yeah, trying to earn. That's what Seth Abrams said. Trying to earn approval and affirmation by serving, helping.
Got it.
Yeah.
Fascinating. If there was a billboard you could put up that would help us be better to each of you in relationship. So I'm dating a 2. I'm married to a 4. My business partner is a 3, which is true. If I am like up close to each of you, we'll start with you, Heather. If I'm up close to you, and what's the billboard you want someone that you would put up everywhere? Like, this is how you do this well with 2s.
I would say it is really hard for me to know what I want. Be patient with me. I'm trying to get clear on what I want or what I need, but there's like a wall blocking it sometimes, and I try hard.
Do you know why that is?
It is the flip side of being so focused on what other people are. When I start to turn inward, especially if I haven't been practicing or doing all the things that help me, I just feel like I have no idea. I don't know. I can hear everybody else's voices and opinions so loudly that it is hard for me to get clear on what I want. I can factor in. I was trying to pick a time last night to meet someone for dinner, and I just kept thinking, well, what if they get stuck in traffic I just wasn't. And he said, there is a time that works best for you, Heather. I need you to pick it. And I was like, oh, no. Okay, fine. And I was like, 5:45. That's it. That's my time. But it is not easy for me. And I think a lot of 2s, I just can defer. Yeah. What do you want? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. What about you, Laura? What would help us be good to 4s in relationship?
I think probably validating feelings and being authentic. Because as a 4, I have no interest in being like investing in your life and friendship if you're not going to be authentic with me and able to.
But you get to determine if we're being authentic.
True. Right? Maybe so. But if I see differences in our friendship and then how you act, maybe somewhere else, or then immediately I probably retreat actually or push you away because I'm like, no, I don't want that. So
I
be
often
authentic.
notice that when 4s come up and speak to me in person, Tyler, they will say, you're the exact same person online that you are right now. And I'm always like, you're probably a 4 because you care so much that I am who I am in public and in private.
I really do.
That is the first thing. So I don't like to type people, but it's almost a game in my brain of like when someone's coming to talk to me, what might their stance be? And so Laura, I will think of you now when it happens, when someone says, you are who you are on the internet. I'm always like, that's cute.
Probably
You're
a 4.
You care. You care. Okay, what about a 3? What does a 3 need in intimate relationship, up close relationship?
Yeah. For my wife, who's a 6, who can be a pessimist, and I can be a naive optimist, that's where there's problems. And so if she comes to me, and before she expresses her concerns about the relationship, if she can just offer like a small sentence of validation or
compliment sandwich,
or I know we're going to be fine, but here's my concern. Like even simple things like that to like validate will go a long way. Because we're instantly misinterpreting what they're saying as, oh, my wife doesn't think that our relationship's going to last, or she doesn't have confidence in our relationship. She thinks our marriage is a failure.
Oh, wow.
They start feeling those things. So small sentences of validation, like we're going to be okay, or I really believe you have good motivations, or you're doing this well, but here's something you can work on. Like those are huge. And just being nice in general, like be nice is the billboard.
Oh, I
Yeah.
like that.
Oh,
Be nice
because-
is nice.
Me too. That's
Be
my
patient, be real, be nice.
Yeah.
Because 5s can be snarky, 6s can be testy, 8s can be challenging, intimidating, 1s can be critical and make us feel like we're bad people
Yeah.
when they're coming at us with their criticisms. So if they can, obviously the healthy versions aren't going to be like that.
Yeah.
But just not everyone's healthy.
Yeah.
So they got to care about our hearts.
Yeah.
And conversely, I'll say that thinking about the heart types more has made me realize how hard we are for other triads. I never thought of myself as high maintenance before, but if I'm honest, I am high maintenance. Because when we start talking about our insecurities and we start talking about, are you mad at me? You start talking about your feelings, like this is all natural for us, but we don't realize it's causing Annie to burn a lot of calories to listen to our emotions.
So is everybody just high maintenance though? Is that just like human?
You know what I'm saying? High maintenance in terms of having
emotional.
to deal with our
Emotionally high
emotions.
maintenance.
Yeah.
Emotionally
Yeah.
high
I've
maintenance.
been told
Emotionally
that
high
phrase
maintenance.
before.
Yeah.
I think I have too.
You've been told you're emotionally high maintenance? Okay.
And especially
Yeah.
as a 3, I don't think of myself as high maintenance.
Yeah.
But I can see now where I get insecure.
Yeah.
And our trusted
But I can see how I'm insecure too. I'm high maintenance too. I'm just having this revelation of like everybody works so hard to not be high maintenance. What if we just went?
We all are.
We're all high maintenance.
Yeah.
That is part of doing relationship.
Yeah, I guess 2s especially like can think of themselves as being like Jesus. Like I am helpful and benevolent. And so, when I heard it too one time when they heard the Enneagram, they cried for 2 weeks because that's not the image they have in their head of themselves.
yeah,
Of
when
being
you threw your
prideful,
book.
not being able to ask for help. Like they have a very positive image. And I think all of us, all heart types can have a very positive image of ourselves.
Wow.
That we're heart types. We're loving. And we don't like you said, I realize I can be high maintenance. We don't realize that very often as much. I think we're not as aware of that. And so we need to realize that other people have to walk on eggshells when they're around us when we're not healthy.
Wow.
Like it takes work to be in a
Yeah.
relationship with us. So we need to name that and do work on that. We need to grow thicker skin so that Annie can come to us and give us feedback and us not to be like, sulking all day. But we need to do work of being thicker skinned to make sense.
That sounds fun.
Hey friends, just interrupting this conversation one more time, tell you about one of our incredible partners, Shopify. Back when we started this podcast 10 years ago, having an online store to sell merch as well was the furthest thing from my mind. But now we get to bring you fun t-shirts and sweatshirts and great resources over at shop.AnnieFDowns.com. It is all so easy because of Shopify. Do you have a project you're working on this summer that you're excited to launch soon? Shopify is the global commerce platform that can help you get started and grow with you the whole way through. Whether you want to sell candles or tote bags, they help you sell everywhere. Their all-in-one e-commerce platform and in-person POS system have got you covered. And how cool is this? Shopify is the global force behind Allbirds, Rothy's, and Brooklinen, and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries, including, as we said, us. They even have an endless list of integrations and third-party apps, from on-demand printing to accounting to chatbots, everything you need. Sign up for $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/soundsfun. All lowercase. Go to shopify.com/soundsfun right now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/soundsfun. And now back to finish up our conversation with Tyler, Laura, and Heather.
That sounds fun.
Heather, bring your counseling brain to this for a second, because when Tyler's saying when we're unhealthy or when they're unhealthy, I mean, it is a random lightning storm when both people are healthy at the same time for an extended amount of time. And so I'm thinking about some of my up close relationships. I'm like, well, he's not healthy right now, but I'm not my healthiest self right now. Well, she's super healthy, but I'm not. Well, I'm really healthy right now, but she's really not. How do we do this well with all these different numbers when we don't always show up healthy at the same time?
Yeah. I think grace is helpful, and language around all of this, being gentle with each other and having a lot of reps of trying and failing and saying, can I try that again? Just being gentle and showing up over and over is what it has looked like for me.
Yeah.
It is rare. I feel like it's been a stressful little time in our world. And so I don't know very many people who are just absolutely their best. And maybe that's just being humans.
Yeah.
So I do think bringing, doing the things we know, but being quick to make repairs and to remember that human relationships are messy and they will not be perfect. I think we can all want them to be something that they're not. And so I love the language of the Enneagram in relationships because it helps, you are that way and I'm this way. And you may not know this, but when you did that, it hurt my feelings. I just think it takes a lot of courage and it's worthwhile work to share how we are.
Right.
I don't know.
Tyler, we haven't really talked about that the world does seem particularly hard. Maybe people 100 years ago felt that too, but it does feel like the last 6 months or whatever, the last year has felt like it's going uphill more for culture. How do we show up healthy? So talk particularly to the Heart Triad. How do they show up healthy right now? What does it look like to get healthy? What are the tools?
Yeah, like I said, I think testing our assumptions is really good. Just a practical thing in relationships.
High communication.
Yeah, because emotions are constantly misleading us, lying to us. So we need truth. Solitude is good as well. I know for sevens it needs silence the mind. For us, we need solitude. We need to get away from people so that we can understand our identity in God and live out of that identity. Like the Jesus' baptism is a really helpful story for everyone, but particularly for heart types, because when the clouds opened and Jesus heard the voice of the Father saying, "This is my beloved Son, whom I'm well pleased." That was before he went out and helped anybody, before he ever healed anyone. That's before he ever, gave a great sermon on the Mount. Before he was the suffering Savior, the man of sorrows, So we need to hear that every single morning, like, I am a beloved child of God, and to find our identity in that so that we go out and we don't have to go hunting for it and searching for it. So the discipline of solitude is really helpful. There's a couple things off the top of my head.
Yeah. Laura, have you found solitude to be helpful for you? I mean, you are in a house full of boys, growing boys, teenage boys.
Toddler boy.
Yeah, right.
And toddler boy.
Right.
Yes, solitude is very helpful. In fact, on Mother's Day, my wish was to go on a hike without the kids.
Oh, by yourself?
Yeah, by myself.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I found that really helpful. I think, too, for me, a tool is just if I don't have any creative outlet, it will start showing. Like if I can't garden or paint or build something, make something, it starts to show if I don't carve out time for that, like any kind of creative outlet. So that's a tool that I'm really aware of now when it's been a while because of the 2 teens and toddler running my life right now. I'm like, okay, I need some solitude and hopefully maybe do something with my hands in that time.
Heather, what are tools like? Do those tools that Tara talked about ring true for you as well?
Yes, I think solitude, it isn't often what I want. Like, I don't think I'm going to go on a long walk by myself. I would rather go with you any day and be with somebody, but it is crucial for me to just remember who I am and listen to my voice and God's voice and not just I have to turn inward. So I take a bath every day. I take a solo walk I try to go 10 minutes without my phone, just being alone and my own. So those help. There are practical, can I say, like other practical, the phrase for 2s that my therapist taught me was, let me look at my calendar and I'll get back to you. And that has really helped me to have a little cushion when I'm asked to do something, because I want to say yes immediately and every single time to all of the ideas and good things. So that helps me to have a practical, like, I need to go think about it. And then once I'm away from it, I can come back and have a more clear answer. Does that make sense?
Yeah. These are helping me too when I'm thinking, Tyler, because I'm thinking, okay, so for the 4s that are up close to me, I need to make sure they're making something. For the 2s that are up close to me, am I giving them ample space to make plans with me versus like, hey, do you want to go right now to go lift this very heavy thing with me? And they're going to say yes. 2s and 9s are suckers. They will do what I ask them to do.
Exactly.
And so they can be taken advantage of. So tell me where 3s sit in this. What are the tools that y'all need? What can I learn about how to do relationship well with you?
Yeah. Well, for 2s, I always thought of the story of Martha it gets preached over and over again, but Martha is like 2s are Marthas that need to be Marys, sit at Jesus' feet and experience that solitude. And then practically, I love when 2s like take up a hobby like photography or painting, like, because those are solo activities that just
interesting.
bring out your heart. For 3s, do you journal, Laura?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. I asked a 4 one time. She was a self-pressed 4 that was sunny on the outside. And I was like, do you deal with suffering? Is suffering a theme in your life? And she's like, oh, I got journals.
I have a lot of journals.
And 3s need to do that as well. 3s need a journal. And a couple of the questions I ask are, where do I feel blessed? Where do I feel burdened? And do that every six weeks or so.
Oh, wow.
And that like draws out like my feelings. Like this is where I feel burdened, because a lot of my prayers in life have been well-worded requests to God.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to look good in God's eyes when I pray.
Yeah.
Whereas David, when we were going through infertility in our marriage, like somebody called me out and pointed and said, David was a man after God's own heart, and you're not pursuing him in that way. Like you're not bringing your burdens to him. And that totally like reoriented my understanding of being a Christian.
Wow.
Not just a doing achiever, doing things for God, getting to the pearly gates and having him say, well done, good and faithful servant. You accomplished a lot. It's like, no, being a Christian is being in touch with my emotions. It's getting out releasing my burdens to the Lord. It's kicking, screaming, fighting with him the same way that C.S. Lewis did in his book, A Grief Observed. That blew me away. And so I need to get more in touch with my pain, my heart. And so journaling is a huge practice for that. And then also listening to music, watching musicals. I start playing the piano again.
Yeah.
Because after 18 years of ministry, I'm tired of being in full-time ministry. And now I'm out of full-time ministry. And so now I feel like I'm having more space to just do more things that I want to do. And it's so good for a 3 to slow down and do something creative or do something that we enjoy, because it just brings out our heart. And we can bring a more whole 3 to our relationships when we're bringing our heart along with our doing, because so much of our relationships is doing. Yeah, it's I can feel when my wife's mad or feel when she's frustrated, so then I do. Like I'll take the kids for you. I'll do this, but that's good. But it's even better if I can bring my emotions to the relationship, my heart. That brings a more whole 3, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's really helpful. What I wish we had time to do is like, how does the opposite sex handle it? Because male 2s and male 4s are very different than female 3s are different, but your face says no, they aren't different.
No, I'm affirming you in my head.
Ah, great. Okay.
Because if we had we could do a gender roles in the church episode.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because male 2s and male 4s are very sensitive and very interpersonal, and oftentimes might marry more assertive females, and then that creates problems in church.
Yeah.
When it's like it's role reversal.
Yeah. That's right.
The sensitive 4. One of my editors is a male 4 who's married to a female 8. And so it just doesn't look in the church like, why is she wearing the pants? Why is she?
Yeah.
And so the Enneagram is really helpful in sort of helping in that area.
I see that. Yeah. Tyler, I also want to speak to you. Say you're not in full-time ministry anymore. You may not work at the local church anymore, but you are one of the people I go to for ministry.
I appreciate that.
So I think you are still in some version of full-time ministry, as am I, but we do not work for the local church, though we love it. We do not work for it.
Good word.
And
good word.
so, okay, we're going to ask you one last question. Because the show is called That Sounds Fun, I do want you to tell me, for your particular self, you are an expert on you. Tell me what sounds fun to you. So, Heather, we'll start with you because you're beside me.
Okay. When I was in high school, I played tennis, and then I did not play for 20 years. I did a lot of other things, and I've just started playing again, and it is so fun. Like, I keep finding myself saying out loud, this is so fun while I'm doing it. I'm just hitting it. My body remembers, but I'm not taking care of anybody. Yeah. Although the other day I like found myself doing it a little bit, and I was like, no, stay focused. It's a really nice, I just love it.
The other day, did you catch yourself taking care of your teammate?
No, we were playing Queen of the Court, and I was on the queen side for too long, and I felt bad about it.
You were too good.
Well, no, I mean, in that context for that minute, I was. And I was like, I was thinking, should I hit it into the net? But then I was like, it's fine. It's just stay and take up your space, So I did, and I hit it. It was fun. Yeah. I love it. I want to play again.
Great.
So it's a nice, I don't get to be competitive very much as a woman in this world, don't you? I don't know. It's just hard. No, so it is so fun.
It's real different when women get competitive than when men get competitive.
Yes. Yeah. And it's like appropriate in that context to hit it as hard as I can. So that sounds
good
fun
for
to
you.
me.
Your space.
Thanks. Good for you.
Laura, what sounds fun to you?
I mean, horseback riding always sounds fun, and I just really want a horse one day and a farm and the whole thing.
Okay.
But living out what's fun right now is and exhausting and fun is my little toddler, who is our little bonus boy who we adopted last year. And because I'm an older mother now, it's just seeing the world through his eyes has been such a gift. So as exhausting as it is, because I am old, he's brought so much joy. Yeah. So
he is such a gift. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, Tyler, because the show is called That Sounds Fun. Tell me what sounds fun to you.
Well, two things. One, I want to go to Italy with my wife.
Okay.
But having two boys right now, one on the spectrum,
how old are they?
10 and 13.
Okay.
It's really hard to get away.
Yeah.
But that's my dream. But right now, like I said, I'm playing the piano again, picking that back up. I played in elementary. And that, again, it's just a good way to get in touch with my heart. Mm-hmm. I remember my mom playing the classics, like some Bach and Mozart when I was little, and it actually brings up emotions in me, like thinking about her playing the piano and like really enjoying those songs. And so I want to get to the point where I can take 2 or 3 years, like keep practicing, and then so I can play those same songs for my kids and continue to pass that along. So that's been really fun.
That's awesome. You guys, thank you for doing this today, for telling us about your shame and your joy and your stance. It helps so much those of us who want to be in good relationship with 2s, 3s, and 4s. So thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
So fun.
I mean, you guys, first of all, aren't they the best? Tyler is so smart. What an incredible expert to get to have on. But I learned so much about 2, 3s, and 4s today and how they work. So tell us what you think. And what would you put on your billboard? You can head over to my Instagram, Annie F. Downs, or to That Sounds Fun podcast. Grab the billboard graphic. Post what you would want to see on your billboard and use the hashtag EnneaSummer 2024 so I can share it. We can see it. You can go to my stories and see what I've shared. They are all there. And go follow Tyler at Tyler Zock or Gospel for Enneagram. And you can get 50% off of Tyler's Enneagram History e-course when you use the promo code That Sounds Fun. Check out that and all of his stuff at gospelforenneagram.com. If you have any questions from this episode, you can drop them in the Q&A box on your Spotify app if you're listening over there like I am, or send them to us on Instagram at That Sounds Fun Podcast. We'll try to answer them there. If you need anything else from me, I'm embarrassingly easy to find. Annie F. Downs on Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever, Facebook, all the places you may need me. That is how you can find me. And I think that's it for me today, friends. Go out or stay home. Do something that sounds fun to you, and I will do the same. Today, what sounds fun to me is spending the day with some friends in Grand Rapids, so that is where I am today. Y'all have a great week. We'll see you back here on Thursday for our last EnneaSummer 2024 episode, where we're going to talk about the Heart Triad with the Enneagram 5, Enneagram 6, and, spoiler alert, me, the Enneagram 7. The Enneagram 5 in this episode is our Enneagram expert you're going to learn from and love, named Ross Slough, one of my very dearest friends and brilliant guy. So we'll see you back here on Thursday for the end of EnneaSummer 2024.
That sounds fun.
That sounds fun.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Check 1, 2 on the microphone. Annie F. Downs in your car to your home. Every week it's something new. A deep talk or an interview. She'll make you laugh, she'll make you cry. When it's dark out, she's a light.